All right, well, welcome to the Ubuntu Minneapolis Circle 499 first annual year in review. So some of these numbers are going to look good, and some of them are going to look not so good.
They're neither good nor bad, they just are.
That's right! Actually, they're all kind of good because before this we started with 0. So anything above 0, we're in good shape. So our totals for 2017, participants 19. That is how many people have decided to be involved in our recorded history. Contribution hours 84, transactions 221, transaction volume 3,996.
Can you clarify participants again?
That's how many people are involved in tracking the transactions.
So this is more specific to Numero.
It is, that's where I'm getting my record from. So all of the graphs look the same pretty much. The horizontal line is the months, and the vertical line is the values. So in this case, the values are measuring participation. So I'll show you a graph, and then I'll give you a moment, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it. So for this one, what's interesting to me is that we've got a consistent minimum of 9 people participating, which is pretty good, especially from the beginning, month number 1 all the way to 12. Contribution hours, that big spike in month 8 is going to show up on a lot of graphs, and even a little spike in month 2, that's going to become more pronounced in later graphs too. So if you remember in number 8, that was the painting crew. And we got a consistent 4-hour minimum starting with month number 4, which is, it's certainly better than 0. 2017 subtotal transactions, contributions 64, food 15, products 34, services 88, GOA 20. So the difference between a contribution and a service is a contribution is something that takes time. A service doesn't. Like a contribution might be sweeping the floor, and a service might be renting someone a car, something like that. GOA is a gesture of appreciation. GOAs don't have a specific category. It could be a contribution, it could be food, it could be products or services, it could be anything. It's kind of it's the wild card transaction. So Ubuntu transactions, that's the spike in month 2 I was talking about. And I would describe that as the enthusiastic start, kind of like gym memberships in January. Everyone's really excited at the beginning of the year, and then it just drops off, and that's pretty much what we're looking at here as well. But we still maintain a consistent 10 transaction minimum all the way from month number 1 to 12. Again, that's pretty good. Contribution transactions, there we've got these spikes in 2 and 8 again. The contributions for 2, that was primarily the Rife treatment. If you guys remember that, I think that was at BB's. Some of you remember that. Starting with month 5, we've got a consistent 4 transaction minimum. The Ubuntu food transactions. This is the one that perhaps doesn't look that good. Those first couple of months, that was venison, corn, cookies, kombucha, and chili. And then at number 8, that's the one tomato that Trick V gave me.
And I sold out of my venison and corn right away.
Right, that was that enthusiastic start in month number 2. Product transactions look exactly the same, and that's not going to be an issue this spring because we're going to have a market and the product transactions are going to be through the roof. So those products were, among other things, drums, songs, toothpaste, cards and salts. Ubuntu service transactions. Consistent 9 transactions starting with month 4, good. GOAs, I don't really have anything further to say about GOAs other than to show you that they statistically exist. They're just part of the
Can you give some
transaction.
examples of them?
Like if someone were to give you a ride home.
Specific within this group. So you're saying there's GOAs within Ubuntu?
Yes, all of these transactions are just Ubuntu.
Okay.
Ubuntu to Ubuntu. Granted, there's some people that are in Ubuntu doing transactions with people outside of Ubuntu, but none of that is calculated here.
Okay,
No, I can't.
okay.
I didn't even think to look at,
You gave me one, I can't remember what it was.
I throw GOAs around like crazy.
I
Sometimes
think
when
I gave Bruce one because he lent me his camera.
there you go.
That'd be a service though, wouldn't it?
It is if it's a service if it's clarified beforehand. So if,
How in the transaction are you categorizing that?
so like if I said, I'll give you a ride to the meeting and I'll take a 20 numero transaction from you for that. That's a service. If I just give you a ride and we don't talk about transactions, you get here and you're like, I really appreciated that. I'm gonna go ahead and throw.
I'm talking about within the transaction, I can't recall there being a field for the category when I do an online transaction.
Description.
So you're going through and evaluating the description and you're determining what.
Oh, you're right. The category, I'm determining that on my own.
Okay,
But the GOAs are in the description. It'll say GOA.
okay.
So that's how I know what that is. So here's our pie. The big one is service with 40%. The transactions are related to service, 29 are related to contributions, 15 to products, 9 to GOAs, and 7 to food. Subtotals for transaction volume, contributions are at 1,680, food 169. Products 452, services 1,577, GOA 118. The transaction volume graphs look pretty much just like transaction graphs, so I'm just going to go through these quickly. Ubuntu total volume, again, enthusiastic number 2 there. And number 8, the painting crew. Contribution volume, 8, painting crew. Food volume, yep, looks just like the other one. Product volume looks just like the other one. Services, yep. GOAs. So the volume pie changes a little bit. Here the contributions are at 42% coming in first. Services at 40, product at 11. Food takes the lead over GOA this time with 4, and then 3% for yeah. I think I got that backwards. Yeah, food takes over, and then GOA is 3. Okay, so what we went over is the Ubuntu to Ubuntu transactions, but we've also got some activity outside of the organization itself through the Support Volunteer Program. You can see through from this image that highlighted in red is what we've gone through, but the Support Volunteer Program's got 4 components to it, and 2 of those components are outside of the organization. So the way it works is the support volunteers enable the contributors and the features by transferring points to the organizational unit, which isolates and manages the transactions and then transfers points to the contributors who are providing products and services, or the non-Ubuntu features like the conference room and the website, which is transactions we're doing with people who aren't specifically involved in Ubuntu. So 2017 support volunteer total. Support volunteers, we've got 13 right now total. Contributors, we've got 8, and features, we've got 3. The conference room is plus 80, which is great. That's exactly where we want to be at the end of the year, and I'll explain more about that in a second. The Ubuntu support volunteers, this, by the way, is my favorite graph.
Up and up and up.
It's on a trend.
It's just so good. It's just so good. It's exactly what I like to
We
see.
like to see you happy, Jason.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Good graph.
Features and contributions, this is my second favorite graph. Not quite as steep as the first one, but still good. Support volunteer total volume. This would look similar to that one too if it wasn't for 8 and 10. And 8 is low because that was the month that we met at Neo Eden, which means we didn't have the contribution requirements or the support volunteer requirements that we do when we meet here. And then in number 10, we met here twice, and that's why that's bigger. Support volunteer transfer requirements. Okay, so every month the support volunteers are going to transfer a certain amount of points to accommodate the contributions and features. So the way that I come up with the requirement for that is I take the total volume of contributions and features, add them together, divide it by the number of support volunteers that I have, and whatever that number is a number that the support volunteers transfer each month. And right now it's been as low as 9 and as high as 27, and given the scale of the organization, my sweet spot is 20. I like to keep things right around 20 if I can. When we've got 1,000 support volunteers and 500 contributors and whatever, then that sweet spot's gonna move up to like 100 or 200 or something like that. But I like to keep it at 20 for right now. The conference room. What we want the points coming in to be larger than the points going out, and as of right now, that is the case. The relationship between us and the building here are complete opposites. We've got a steady flow of points going out, and the points coming in come in sharp spikes. And I assume that it's going to be the same situation for 2018. So what's going to happen is that plus 80 that we've got is going to dwindle down into the negative somewhere. It'll be, in a few months it'll be minus 60, minus 100, minus whatever. But then we'll have another project like painting the conference room, and that's going to jack it back up again and put us in the positive. You look like you want to say something to me.
Well, I just was wondering if we're keeping track of any building improvements that Dave would like to see. If we have a list, if we have a job list, so that we can sort of schedule and organize that event, whatever it's going to be.
We started out with a job list. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's kind of weird. 1. There we go. I started out with a job list, so I am going to go off of that. We're going to paint this place again, but the big one that I'd like to set up is Dave would like to have some kind of a scheduled maintenance of stripping and waxing and buffing the floor.
Oh, okay.
So if we can get that deal, then we're just going to be through the roof all the time. And
Right.
if we've got a lot of points in our basket, then we can start coming here more often. Ideally, maybe every weekend we could be here.
Right.
Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, that was before we had the deal. That's not, so there's nothing there. Painting crew, of course, it's number 8. And then you can see in our number 8 for the out, there is no red, and that's because we met at Neo Eden. Then you can see on 10, it's double because we had 2 meetings here. Conference room, we're in at 55%, out at 45. We're 10% up. Again, that's where we want to be. So, is there a point to all of this beyond keeping score and setting goals? First of all, keeping score and setting goals is great in and of itself. But above and beyond that is we want to have a record of what we're doing. Because records create history, history creates culture, and cultures create society. And that is what we're doing here. We're creating the Ubuntu society. So, congratulations everyone on a great year, and I expect that 2018 will be even better.